Hey there fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters Room. Today we're here in Cartagena, Colombia, and today what we're going to do for you is give you the list of the don'ts of visiting Cartagena. But honestly, when you're here, I think there's one important don't you need to know, and that is don't expect to have a quiet vacation when you're here. Whether it's the music, the people, the parties, the eatings, going out around town, all the tourists around, the chiva rumbera, the party buses. I mean, it's going to be a loud time when you're here, and so be ready for that because this is a noisy city, but you're going to love it no matter what you're doing here. Another really important don't as we start off with this is realize don't think you're ever going to beat the heat here in Cartagena because, as one of our guides told us, there's only two seasons here in Cartagena, hot and hotter, okay? So make sure you have a long sleeve protecting the sun, but stay hydrated. Make sure you're drinking everything. Just make sure you're putting that SPF on to protect it and realizing that when you're going and booking your accommodation, make sure that it has good air conditioning. And yes, don't forget your hat. I have one in my pocket right now. Now the thing is, when people are coming to Cartagena, they look and see on the map, and they see the Caribbean. It's right there. This must be a great beach vacation place. And I want to tell you right now, don't think of Cartagena as a beach vacation place. This is a eating, partying, drinking, having fun place with great history and colonial buildings. That's what it's about, not beaches so much. Now, I'm not going to say don't go to the beaches because there are beaches here. You go to Boca Grande, you'll see that there are beach options, but Cartagena itself is not a beach town. It's a colonial town. But if you want to go to some great beaches, take one of those day trips and go out to the islands, like the Rosario Islands. Go out there with fantastic beaches there, okay? And if you do go to the islands, one, don't forget to look at the flags to make sure it's safe to go because there can be some dangerous currents there. Also, when the ladies come and start giving you massages, they're not free. Even though they say it's a free massage, don't think it's a free massage, okay? But if you want a massage, go ahead and do it, but you will have to tip them and pay them. So I want to give you those ideas. But let's explore more of the city to see more of these don'ts. Now, with all those tourists that come here, I got to tell you this. Don't wait to book your accommodation here in Cartagena, especially around holidays, Christmas, spring break, these kind of things. Because Cartagena is so popular with tourists from around the world, it fills up. But also, locals come here and they book up the accommodation as well. So if you want to not have that like, oh my gosh, I can't find a place last minute, book your accommodation early. Also, when you're going around, don't forget to look up. You have all this fantastic architecture here in the old town. It is just gorgeous to walk around and take it all in, whether it's the churches, whether it's the art galleries, whether it's the museums, whether it's just the buildings as you go. It is just a fantastic place to be walking the walled city because it is such a wonderful experience. So don't forget to look up because you might miss out on some really cool stuff. Another don't I have for you is don't forget about the seafood, which is obvious. We're on the Caribbean coast. You're going to have fantastic seafood. But if you can get the fried fish, the pescado frito, it's fantastic. Whether it's pargo, which is snapper, or maybe you get tilapia, you can have that. But any of the fish here is going to be great. The fried one or grilled one or however you have it, it's awesome. Get it. But what you're going to love when you have it, don't forget to get it with the coconut rice, arroz con coco. You want to get that with the patacones. That is a totally traditional thing here. You want to have that. You also have the sancocho here, which you get throughout Colombia. But here you get it with fish in it. Oh my God, it's so good. And of course, ceviche is a thing here. So don't miss out on all the different seafood things you can have because it is fantastic here in Cartagena. Now, another thing I'd say about Cartagena, especially if you're going to be in the old town, don't drive. Just don't drive. Don't even get a driver. Just walk around the city, okay? If you're in the walled city or Gethsemane, it's safe here. You'll be okay. You don't have to get a driver because you're going to have to drive around a bit for them to make any money. So it's more likely you're going to get overcharged. So just walk around and enjoy the city. That's going to work better. Now, if you got to go out to the bus station and the airport, obviously then you're going to get a taxi and stuff, but something to kind of think about is just realizing you're going to be walking around when you are here. And when you are walking around, don't be surprised if 5 people in a row ask you if you want to get a carriage ride. I mean, literally you say, no gracias to one guy, and the next guy will come up next to you. Would you like to get a carriage ride? No gracias. And then another person, then another person. The street vendors will come up, but they will come up and they're nice people. And I'll talk about that later, but just don't be surprised if you get one after another after another. And oh, if you see the ladies that have the fruit on their head and the traditional clothing, don't forget, if you're going to get a picture with them, you need to tip them. That's how they make their money. That's how they make their living. So don't forget that. So have some small bills so you can tip them when you get your pictures because you want to get some pictures with them when you are here. And yes, some of them you can actually buy the fruit as well. Now, another thing that's really big here, especially for tourists, are the Chiva Rumbera, which is the party buses. You will see the party buses going around. During the day, they do cultural things, but during the night, they are literally a DJ and party on a bus. Like you're drinking, you're dancing, you're having a good time. They take you to different clubs. I mean, it's really a cool thing to do. And it's something that if you're gonna looking for a good time, you can do it. It is kind of a bit, feels touristy and silly sometimes, but it is a fun thing to do. It is super popular. I mean, it's around Colombia as well, but here, I think they do it up a little bit better. And the thing is, when you are here in Cartagena, I know it's a very safe place for South America. It's a relatively safe international city, but I don't want to tell you, don't be silly with your safety when you are here. If you're going out to the clubs, make sure you keep an eye on your drink, okay? Don't let other people give you random drinks. You want to be careful with that. Don't walk home alone at night. Go out with other people when you are here. Don't overdress when you're here. Make yourself a target. You know, all those things around the world that you have the same thing here in big tourist cities. So be aware of that. If you're down here and you're in the old town and you're walking around, also don't forget to look out for pickpockets too, because they are here. Now, some other don'ts I have for you if you're in Cartagena is one, don't throw the toilet paper in the toilet. You actually do have to put it in the garbage bin that's next to the toilet. The pipes here just can't quite handle it, so do be aware of that, because you'll see those little trash cans right next to the toilet. Now, another thing to mention when you're here in Cartagena is, don't worry, you can drink the water when you're here, brush your teeth, drink and all that. It doesn't necessarily taste so good, but you can drink it. Another don't I have for you is when you're here in Cartagena, you know, you're gonna have to use the peso when you are here. And there's gonna be a lot of people that might offer to exchange money for you. And I will say this, do not exchange on the street. There are plenty of ATMs you can go to. Heck, when you fly in, you can go to the ATM right there and get cash that way. But yeah, don't be exchanging money on the street. Another thing I think is important when you're walking around and you're getting lost, one thing I gotta tell you is, don't give like the numbered address of a place you need to go, because the locals won't know. Make sure you look around for the yellow placards that has the name of the street, like the name of it, not the number of it, the name of it, because that's what people will know here. Now, when you are walking around the city and you're going into some of the colonial buildings, I will warn you about this. If you've got bad ankles, don't forget to get an ankle brace or bring it with you, because of the all uneven cobblestones, but also, please, when you go into some of those colonial buildings, they are big steps and uneven steps when you're going around. So do be aware of that. So if you get the little weak ankles, do be ready for that with your ankle braces to bring with you. We actually brought 2.
When in Cartagena, don't rub her butt. It makes you as fat as her, or at least that's how the saying goes. If you touch one breast, you'll come back in 1 year. If you touch them both, you'll come back in 2. And if you rub her rubelly, it's good luck.
Rub her belly. Oh, she's gonna come back. Wolters. Good artist. So you've been in Cartagena for a while, you know you're going to be dripping with sweat because of the heat and humidity, and sometimes you want to get out of that sun. Well, don't forget about the museums that are here. You have the Cartagena Museum right behind me, you got a Naval Museum, there's a bunch of other museums you can see when you're here. Also, go inside and see the churches when you're here. They are beautiful, so don't pass up that opportunity, because I know some people, they're coming here on a cruise, you don't have a lot of time. Take the time to see a museum, or at least get into a church or two when you're walking around, taking in all the colonial sites and all the views and the walls, because it really doesn't make it much more of a beautiful, easy stay when you're here to kind of take those in to get out of the sun and the heat. And I do want to say, when you are here, don't forget to get the fried fish, but I will tell you, the fried fish, don't forget to look out for the bones, because it will be a bit spiny, because I've seen a few tourists having a tough time with the bones from the fried fish. So do be aware of that. Also, if you get the sancocho, if you have the sancocho with some of the fish in there as well, sometimes it's the whole fish that goes in there, so you have to deal with the bones too. So just be aware. And it's more if you're gonna be traveling with little kids, just so they're not like, I got something caught in my throat. I just want to be safe when you're enjoying the good food when you're here. So another thing you'll see here in Cartagena is there'll be guys that'll come up and start rapping at you and about you. They might ask, hey, where are you from? And they start a rap going. It's a fun thing. Tip them if you like. You just say no gracias and they'll go on. But it is one of those funny things here in Cartagena that you do have the guys that walk up and want to rap to you about you. It's pretty funny. So sometimes just go along with it. Tip them, make their day. It's how they make a living. So kind of fun.
So if you're looking for local candies while you're in Cartagena, there in that arcade behind me, there's all the local candy shops. So it's right near the clock tower. And you'll be able to find it really easily, but that's where you get your local sweets.
So when you are walking around Cartagena, don't forget to look at the door knockers, because there's some pretty cool ones when you go around. It actually could be just a collection of pictures of the door knockers, but definitely check them out. It is really cool when you go around. Another thing I got to tell you, when you're here in Cartagena, you are going to see those city walls, and don't pass up the city walls, whether you're walking along them, walking on top of them. It is really a definite part of the city, so you don't want to miss out on that. It's very important. I like, from my view, my favorite view is actually this, of the clock tower you can go to, but this is actually just one of those really parts of the city you have to take in are the walls, so don't miss out on them. And I will say, if you're in the walls, don't worry about wandering around there. It's actually pretty safe when you're in there, and you can enjoy the restaurants, the music, the bars, the history, the museums. I mean, inside the walls, that's where you want to be. That's the colonial part that you're going to love. And that's what I always say is just walk around and don't forget to look up, because you have the church towers. There's one peeking up right over there. You have the colonial buildings, just gorgeous with the balconies that are there. There's so many cool things. When you're walking around, whether it's day or night, you're walking around going, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. And you don't want to pass that up. So don't worry when you're inside the city walls. And one thing I do have to tell you is don't forget to brush up on your Spanish before you come to Cartagena. Even though a ton of tourists from around the world come here, you still need to know some Spanish, because unless you're some of the higher end places, English might not quite be there or as well as you might hope. So do be aware of that and realize that an hola, which is hello, gracias, which is a thank you, goes really far. And you might just want to say no gracias, which is no thank you, when all the street vendors come up to offer you the hats, or they're offering you the massages, or they're offering you other things, or when they offer you 1,000 times over the carriage rides. No gracias goes a long way. But yeah, you don't have to be fluent in Spanish, but do know some when you're here. Now, if you're coming from Bogota or some of the higher elevations, you'll notice in those places in Colombia, there's not really any bugs. Well, I gotta tell you this, don't forget your bug spray, your bug repellent, and your afterbite kind of stuff when you come here to Cartagena, because the mosquitoes, yeah, they are here, okay? Now, another thing I think is really important for people is when you come to Cartagena, a lot of people might stay for a week or so, and I want to tell you this, if you're gonna be here for a bit, don't pass up going to the islands and doing some of the day trips. Probably the most famous islands are the Rosario Islands. Great beaches when they're there, you can do that, that's really fun. If you want some more history of this region as part of the country, you can go to Palenque for like the Freedom Tour when you're there. Or if you want to learn how people, fished here historically, you can go to Barranquilla, which we actually went to, which was cool because you get to canoe out there and watch them fish, and you can get in there as well and throw the nets too, so it's kind of cool. But there's also, if you want to do one of the volcano baths, the mud baths, you can do that. And now we're here on top of the San Felipe Fortress, and I do have some don'ts when you come here. One, definitely don't forget that sun protection, because there is no sun protection when you are up here. You will get fried. Also, don't forget to bring some good shoes, because you got to walk up from down there, and it's a little bit of a hike, not too bad, but it's very steep, so just be ready for that. So have good shoes. If you got bad knees, you're here on a cruise ship, maybe pass on the San Felipe walk, because it can be a bit tough getting up here, but the views from up here are really cool. Okay, so don't pass up, come to San Felipe. There's Boca Grande over there. You get a good view of this city when you're here. Another don't I want to talk about, and I know I talk about the buskers and the street vendors and everything when you're here, but I want to say this, don't be mean to the street vendors here in Cartagena. Remember, they're doing their job. No one comes to your office and starts yelling at you, aside from your boss, for you doing your job. So don't be mean to the street vendors when you are here. They're actually really cool, and that's what I want to say is don't pass up a chance to talk to the street vendors. Talk to the locals when you are here, because the people in Cartagena are beautiful in terms of beautiful looking, but also beautiful people in the heart. You're going to really love the people when you're here. Another don't I have for you, if you're here between October and December, don't be surprised if you get a little rain and it actually floods here. We're talking like Venice flooding kind of stuff, though they don't have the gondolas, okay, but do know that can happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's something to be aware of. So there are a lot of day trips you can do, and I will say this, don't just grab a tour from anyone on the street. That's an important thing. Sign up through your hotel or your hostel to do some of those day trips that are here, to make sure you get the right ones, because not all the boat tour kind of things are as on the up and up as you'd hope. So it's better to go with a reputable agency that your hotel recommends, because then if something happens, your hotel knows and they can help you out. Now, for my backpackers, I got bad news for you. Don't think the bus station is close to downtown. Now, the airport, heck, the airport is only 15 minutes from right here. I mean, it's fantastic when you fly in. You're right here, right by Gethsemane, right by the old town, the city walls. It's a really quick drive, even in bad traffic. However, if you've got to go to the bus station is like an hour from here. It is not close, and that can be annoying if you're going to be busing to other parts of the country, or if you want to bus to some of the day trip stuff. Just be aware of that if you're going to do it on your own, because yeah, it is kind of far. So maybe fly in instead of busing if you get the chance. Especially if you're coming from Medellin or Bogota, it's just a lot easier just to fly in. Avianca's from here, so that's really nice. And I will tell you this, when you fly into the airport, don't just grab a taxi outside. When you get your luggage, there'll actually be a taxi, like an official taxi kind of line to sign up to get your kind of coupon to go get your taxi right there, like in baggage claim. So you can do that, then follow the signs for the official taxis and grab them, because there are official airport taxis that will get you with a set price from the airport to town. So that might be a little bit safer, but also a little bit more cost effective, because then you don't get the chance of them ripping you off. Because that's one of those things, anytime you take a taxi here in Cartagena, don't forget to negotiate the price before you go, because you don't just want to hop in and then guess what the price is going to be at the end, because there might be a little inflation, let's say, while you're in the car versus a local. All right. Now, another really important thing is, I know a lot of people, when they think of Colombia, they think of the history and Pablo Escobar and all these kind of things. And I want to say this: don't do drugs when you're here. Don't try to buy drugs when you're here, because drugs are illegal. Marijuana, cocaine, that's all illegal here in Colombia. So you can get in big trouble with that. And even if you're joking about it, don't. Just stay away from the drug stuff. That would be my advice to you.
When you're in Cartagena, don't miss the opportunity to come to Boquilla here and go on a mangrove visit. Like, you go on these canoes and you go through all these beautiful mangrove little tunnels and things. We got to go through the Tunnel of Love. But also we got to learn to fish in the traditional way with nets. And Liam caught a crab, Mark caught a fish. It was great. I was a really good fisherwoman. But we also got to plant mangroves, which within 6 months will be about 1 meter tall. And it's just really cool. So don't miss that opportunity.
Hey, if you're gonna be in Colombia, I want you to remember, don't forget 2 very important sports when you come to Colombia. Number 1 is baseball. If you can go to a game, go, because everybody plays. When they're little kids, when they're older, that is the sport here in Colombia, is baseball. So don't forget that. But also, don't forget about dominoes. Yes, dominoes is a sport here in Colombia. It's very popular. You might see some little guys playing or some younger people playing. But yeah, dominoes and baseball, don't forget those 2 Colombian sports, because that's part of the culture here. Another area of town you don't really have to worry about is Gethsemane. That's another nice place to stay. Lots of restaurants. There's bars there too. This is actually where we stay when we come here. And it is a nice place. You're outside of the craziness of the center of town. Still tourists coming by. Still lots of restaurants. Still lots of stuff. But yes, I love Gethsemane because it gives you much more of a not as over touristy feel, though there's extra touristy stuff here. So just be aware of that one. Make sure you come out to Gethsemane on the weekends at night. Always a good time by the church. Now, one thing's important to realize: if you're coming to Gethsemane, there's a lot of galleries around here, like street galleries. So if you're looking to get art like what we do, you can pick up a lot of art when you're going around. If you're thinking, well, I missed that one, don't worry. You keep walking around, you'll see some more galleries as you go. Also in Gethsemane, there's a lot of street art you can check out as well, which is really cool. So why don't you get your art on when you're here in Cartagena as well? Not just your salsa dancing and your music loving and your mojito drinking and your seafood eating and all those things, because honestly, the art scene here, the street art and also the other things, it is really cool. A set of don'ts you have to realize when you're here in Cartagena is about time. One thing, don't get in a hurry. This is very much a relaxed, things will take a little more time kind of city, and so you have to realize that. So don't get upset if your tour starts a little bit later or it takes a little while to get your seat or get your order. It's all about taking your time, okay? And that's why I got to tell you, don't try to do things before 10 a.m. because that's when things kind of open up. Otherwise, it's kind of really calm before that, let's say. Also, don't doubt the power of the siesta, because you have big lunches here, and so when you have a big lunch, you're going to want to take a siesta afterwards. And also, here's a little hint: the locals, they have a big lunch and a small dinner. I will tell you, if you go over to Boca Grande, definitely realize, well, there's Boca Grande, and then there's Castilla Grande, and more. There's 3 neighborhoods over there. There is beaches over there, but they like to call it like the little Miami. And if you've ever been to Miami, when you go drive over there, you kind of understand with the high rises and the beaches right there. So it'll give you that kind of vibe. So just be aware of that. Look, I know I've been talking about how safe Cartagena is and how you don't have to worry so much when you're here, but I will be honest with you. You're going to be staying in places where tourists go, and those parts are safe. So I'm going to tell you this: don't go to the part of town that tourists don't go to. And believe me, your hotel, the concierge, your buddies you meet on the street, they'll tell you where not to go in Cartagena. So there are neighborhoods you don't go. But I'm not going to really go in depth in them, because as a tourist, you're going to stay here in Gethsemane. You're going to be at the the center part. You may go to the beaches in Boca Grande and Castillo Grande, but you're going to be staying around here, so you're not really have to deal with it. But don't think there aren't issues here. I mean, but you're not going to go there as a tourist. So that's why I kind of feel it's not as big of a thing to talk about, because you're not going to be there. But do know there are parts of town you don't want to go to. If you're in Cartagena, don't mess with the heat. Make sure you've got your hat. Make sure you got sunblock on. Also stay hydrated. Though I don't know if the chocolate beer is the best way to stay hydrated, but you want to stay hydrated because it can get bad. Also, don't mess with the mosquitoes. You're here the wrong time of the year, those mosquitoes come and they like the tourists. So don't forget your bug spray and your bug wipes and your after bite stuff, because it will make a difference when you're here. Don't be surprised if it gets a little crowded when the cruise ships are in. Those are all buses just from one cruise ship here today. Sometimes you might have, I don't know, 5 or 6, I'm not sure, but it can be a bit crazy, so do be aware of that. And if you're going to be coming in, make sure you're choosing the right tour for you when you're going to come in if you're taking a cruise here, because Cartagena is a fantastic stop on a lot of Caribbean cruises, so super awesome to do. But yeah, it can get a bit crazy, and I guess I should tell you this. Don't really ever expect to be alone when you are here in Cartagena, because it's so popular with Colombian tourists, with South American tourists, people from the US, Europe. I mean, this place gets packed, and so there's always tourists here. And so you have all the tour buses, all the things, but you do have the beautiful city walls. But also with all those tourists, don't think it's going to be cheap when you come to Cartagena, because this is the most expensive city in Colombia. And I mean, honestly, everywhere we've gone compared to like Bogota and other places, the prices here are significantly higher. So don't think this is going to be a super cheap vacation, because it's a super popular tourist place. And then I want to tell you this one, because this is one mistake that I've made before, and I know Jocelyn's made, and that is, don't call it Cartagena. There's no N with a little tilde. The nya at the end, it's Cartagena. All right, so remember that when you're coming here. But honestly, Cartagena, the colonial city, inside the walls, all over, this city is fantastic. It's gorgeous. Yes, there's a ton of tourists, but there's reasons for that, because it truly is one of the most beautiful cities in South America. And I've lived in South America for a long time. I've traveled here for a long time. And I gotta say, inside these city walls, when you get Gethsemane, I mean, it's just a really cool city, and it's a beautiful place. Even if it's not the most beachy place on the coast you can imagine, but well worth going to. So what are some other don'ts you have about coming to Cartagena? Please let us know in the comments below to help out other travelers. And we have videos on the don'ts of Colombia, how to be safe when you come to Colombia, on our website at woltersworld.com. And I'll say bye from here in Cartagena, Colombia.